everyone, this is Eugene Roddenberry.
Dr. Mohammed Noor.
Adam Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy's son.
This is Leonard Crowfoot.
This is Dr. Aaron McDonald, Star Trek Science Advisor and Lieutenant Commander McDonald on Star Trek Prodigy.
And you're listening to
Humanist Trek.
Humanist Trek.
You're listening to Humanist Trek.
the Humanist Trek podcast.
And you're listening to Humanist Trek, a fabulous, fabulous show.
Enjoy.
And don't worry, you can do your Temporal Mechanics 101 homework later.
Of course, Data's like, well, sexual attraction is, in this context, is not part of my programming. I am an android. Hello, Data.
I am programmed in multiple techniques. A broad variety of pleasuring.
Oh my.
Data, I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
And it's enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Peldor Joy, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashby.
And Allie is already laughing.
You scared the shit out of me. I had zoned out, and I was just, as you do when weed takes over, and I just kind of forgot where I was, and then you go, Peldor Joy, and scared the crap out of me.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I don't know. I have a medical update for you, I guess. I went down to sick bay, and so
saw Dr. Pulaski.
Oh, God, no. And she got my pronouns wrong, that bitch. I don't know the last time on Sarah's medical adventures. Mm-hmm. I feel like we've talked about on the air about my struggle to find a doctor who knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And my back and forth insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So my new insurance through my employer now is a Kaiser Permanente plan. And I have heard nothing but terrible things about Kaiser, which is interesting because I had an incredible experience with Kaiser.
Okay.
They do some shit weird, like right when we created the plan and they imported all of my documentation and everything, I got a notification that I had medications ready to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between Kaiser and everybody else is everybody else, the doctor sends over a prescription and the pharmacy fills it and you come pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
At Kaiser, the doctor sends over a prescription and then you have to notify the pharmacy that you want it to be filled. Then the pharmacy fills it, then you come pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we showed up at the pharmacy and they're like, well, did you tell us you wanted it filled? And I was like, no, my doctor told you we wanted it filled.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, well, see, it works differently here. Here's what you got to do. No big deal. It's going to be 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then it'll be ready.
So
not a problem.
I wonder if the people who say it's terrible, it's their perception just because they're having a hard time dealing with how different it is from the mainstream,
Yeah, that's possible. And then I had to make an appointment, of course. It was due anyway. It was time for my annual and establish new care with this new doctor. And I went on Kaiser's website, and I don't know if it was an AI chatbot or a real human, or I don't know who I was talking to, but I was like, let me tell you a story about all the fucking trouble I've had finding a primary care physician who can handle me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last one that I tried to switch to put me through labs, and then at the follow-up announced that she was going to refer me to a specialist to manage my estrogen because she didn't say this. She never said, I'm not comfortable treating you for that. But obviously something wouldn't square.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's dumb. I've had a primary care physician since 2015 managing my care. I do not need a specialist, but thank you for your time. And then went back to the doctors who I'd been going to, who were great. And so now I asked, I said, this is my situation. Here's the whole damn story. I need a doctor who knows what they're doing when it comes to trans care. And they were like, this is a good doctor for you at this, the Brighton clinic or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if you're just pulling names out of a hat or seeing who has openings for new patients or whatever, but like, I'll take your word for it. And so we went in and met with this new doctor, and she is fucking fantastic.
Oh, amazing.
I told her the
Yay.
story, and she was like, well, let me just stop you right there and tell you, I am perfectly comfortable managing your care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, I want you to be comfortable with me. So that's, that was what that appointment was all about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, I want to reassure you that I am competent in this kind of care and comfortable managing your care as long as you're comfortable with me. And so I was like, oh my God, this is great.
You're amazing.
Right? So that went off without a hitch. And then I did some labs, which I have to do annually. And completely unrelated to my gender care is some other health concerns that have been going for a while. When I worked at Disney in Florida, we had Cigna, and Disney provided excellent benefits.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they started to do, I don't know, around 2010 maybe, was Cigna would hold these like testing centers on site on Disney property for employees, and we could go and do, panels, tell you what your cholesterol was and shit like that.
Nice.
And since then, from that point, and this is crazy because I was like, no, I wasn't eating healthy, but I was like running around in the heat and humidity of Florida constantly.
Regular movement. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My good cholesterol has always been low, and my bad cholesterol has always been high.
Mm-hmm.
And they have always been up my ass about getting those straightened out, which I did not take seriously. And now, for the first time in my adult life, drumroll please,
oh no,
my good cholesterol is high and my bad cholesterol is low. I'm in the range where I'm supposed to be.
Oh my gosh. What? That's amazing.
Right? I feel really good about that.
I'm afraid to go. I'm afraid to go see mine because
the one thing that I do have to fix now, and I have already started like hardcore changing my diet, is my A1C is dangerously bordering on diabetes. I am pre-diabetic. I am 0.2 percentage points away from diabetic. So I'm pre-diabetic.
Okay.
Dangerously close to crossing that line. And once you cross that line, then it's real bad. And so we're trying to manage that. And, I got a stern talking to about that again, like I do, but I'm taking it seriously this time. Diet and exercise. Like I'm trying to get myself away from that diabetic line.
I'm probably in the same boat, although I'm a little afraid of going to see what the numbers are, so I've been avoiding it. But I did do something weird recently, and I've joined a dance studio. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard this story. This is great.
So I'll be going to this dance studio to learn, sort of hip hop grooves, but it's like a fitness dance. But I realize I sit at the computer all day. I don't move.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I end up working late. So I end up taking my laptop, sitting on the sofa, continuing to work to 9. Yeah. Not as much as I used to. But then I just sit, and I'm realizing I need to move, and I do go hiking, but like you said, every other weekend, not every weekend. But I need to do more. I need to move, and I need to make it a part of my life. And and the way that I have to do it is I have to enjoy it, and I love to dance. So why not fucking make that my fitness?
That's awesome.
So yeah.
What all kinds of dance are you doing? Or is this like a Zumba kind of thing?
It's
like where
not Zumba, it's hip hop.
Dance aerobics.
It's an actual.
Oh, it's hip hop. That's awesome.
You actually learn choreography.
Fuck yes.
I think I can dance until I'm presented with that, and then I'm gonna find out I can't. So
oh, that's fun. I love that so much.
I'm excited. I'm super excited.
That's so cool. Well, we're all making life choices here. And this week on our episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, life choices are discussed and made Let's get into it. It's Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 4, The Outrageous Okona.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? I've got something, sir.
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse com.
Number 1, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number 1, keep them out of my way.
This is the setup to one of my favorite Star Treks. We're in some random-ass star system where there are 2 worlds colonized by the same people, and the fabric of their relationship is like your dad's underwear, couple centuries old and barely holding it together.
It's got shit stains and holes in
Yeah.
it.
There's an unidentified vessel approaching, and Data and Worf make pretty quick work of sizing this ship up. Small, probably an interplanetary cargo ship. 1 humanoid life sign, no weapons to worry about, only lasers. And I love this episode because a couple of times they're like, lasers. Wow, what a weak-ass weapon system.
That's not going to do shit to the Enterprise.
And also, its guidance system is jacked.
Yeah, so they're going to go try to help this person, whoever it is. Riker suggests that they intercept and see if they need any help. Let's play space rescue.
So they hop on a Skype call, and on the view screen is this guy's butt. He's facing away from the webcam and shuffling through some stuff, and he introduces himself as Captain Han Solo of the cargo carrier Erstwhile.
Yep.
And he's just dropping charm left and right.
Dripping. He got that drip. He's pretty charming. He's got that, just the fact that his butt is to the camera. And he doesn't even have the military bearing to even turn around and address who's calling him. You can tell he's just kind of whatever, man, out in space.
Yeah. So Picard puts this call on hold, and he asks Troy about this guy. And Troy's like, he's got massive charisma stats. Mischievous, irreverent, somewhat brazen, a rogue, and of course that triggers Data's thesaurical subroutine. Oh, a cad, knave, rake, rascal, villain, wild elephant.
But Troy does say, yes, but he's not there's no ill will. It's all, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, he's just super charming, charismatic, kind of a pirate type of guy. So maybe more like Han Solo and Jack Sparrow had a baby.
Mm-hmm. He's
Han Sparrow?
Han Sparrow.
Jack Solo? Wait, that's something else. Jack Solo is something else.
Jack Solo. He's got Riz, Sarah.
Yeah.
He's got Riz.
Dripping the Riz.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Han Sparrow is played by Billy Campbell, who, spoiler alert, reprises this role in Star Trek Prodigy.
Nice. I did not know that. Oh.
And I don't remember what our question for this episode was, so it might have been this, but I don't
sure
remember.
I got it wrong, so it doesn't matter.
Right. He was the second choice to play Bill Riker.
Oh, him. Oh.
Yeah, this guy was like their second choice to play Riker. Could you imagine this guy as Riker?
He'd have so much more pussy. I mean, not that Riker is great.
Riker gets his own, yeah.
But I think they cast the right guy because Riker has that balance of believability of authority.
Well, and we don't know if Billy Campbell, I mean, he's playing the role he was written, right? We don't know how he would have played the other role, right?
I love Jonathan Frakes.
You might also know this Captain Okona as the Rocketeer. You remember the movie The Rocketeer? No? Wow.
No.
This army dude finds an old rocket backpack or some shit and becomes this, I don't know. Anyway,
nope.
I haven't watched it in a million years.
Nope. I remember him from this show that I wish they'd gotten more seasons on. It was called Helix. It was a really good show. I think it was on USA many years ago, before USA kind of shit the bed. But this was an excellent series. I think we only got one or two seasons, and then they just canceled it. But I love that show. And sci-fi. He was a doctor, I think, and there was some Contagion or something. So yeah, but he's been on a bunch of other stuff too.
Anyway, they offer to help with some repairs, so Riker has him turn off the engines and prepare to be tractored and beamed over. And Worf's like, Captain, may I remind you of our Charlie X training? We should limit his access to our ship.
Thank you.
Finally.
Thank you.
Yes.
It takes paranoid Worf to actually execute some caution, which should be like standard.
So Riker has everyone prepare for this, but when the womanly voice of the transporter chief responds, Captain Han Sparrow's like, hey, wait a minute. Was that a woman's voice? And Riker is grinning like an idiot. But also, Troy is literally sitting right there on the bridge on this Skype call in her tight spandex.
Right.
This is the USS Enterprise, Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
And this is the cargo carrier erstwhile, Captain Okona at your service, sir. There's no need for your phasers, Captain. I'm harmless and not quite yet ready for a mercy killing.
You were never considered a danger, Captain.
Oh, that's a shame. I can remember when I was at least considered a risk.
Riker walks Wesley through the procedure to tractor the cargo ship, and he takes Worf, Wesley, and Data to the transporter room to welcome their guest. And here we find an extremely attractive transporter chief. Did you recognize Terry Hatcher?
Of course, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Love her.
She goes on to play Lois Lane on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and Susan Meyer / Delfino on Desperate Housewives.
Didn't
Not
watch
a thing
that.
I watch.
Didn't watch
No.
that.
I read that because so many of her scenes were cut, she asked not to be credited.
Yep.
What an idiot.
Why would they cut
Listen,
her out?
You give me one scene where I get mangled in a transporter accident, you best damn well credit me for that shit. I come to work, you credit me. Period.
If I think like Susan Sackett, who walked off the elevator.
Yeah.
Like that was all. That was the only credit me, please.
Okona materializes and Worf is right there with his hand out asking for his weapons. And this is one of those moments I think they could have afforded another beat.
What do you mean?
He like takes his holster off and gives it to Worf. And then Worf holds his hand out again, just expecting that there are more weapons.
Right.
And Okona reluctantly hands over a knife. And they could have done this another time or two for comedy.
2 more times would have been the right number, and we would have been dying laughing because in any sort of comedy is just hilarious.
Yeah. Lower Decks definitely would have done that bit further. Like Okona would just be handing over weapon after weapon hidden away. You know, there'd be one in his boot that he'd pull off and hand out, and then another one somewhere else.
Some places that we don't expect him to pull something out. Yeah.
Yup. Speaking of drip, this episode is dripping with comedy because Riker tells Okona to give the busted guidance part to Commander Data, and then we'll get started on the repairs. And he thrusts this big triangular-shaped starship part into Wesley's arms. Hilarious. And Wesley's like, no, dummy, I'm not Commander Data. He's Commander Data. And then Wesley introduces himself as Acting Ensign Wesley Crusher. And so then that becomes a gag too. Wesley Crusher. And then Captain Jack turns to Lieutenant Terry Hatcher and starts laying on the charm. And at first, she kind of makes an effort to resist, but the iciness quickly melts into a coy smile. And Riker's like, they're standing off in the corner, you know, watching this whole thing go down. And Riker's like, well, his vision is excellent and he's got a healthy libido.
And then the Lieutenant Robinson or whatever she is, she says 806. She's basically giving him, that's my room number. Jesus Christ.
And it wasn't like, it was so played as like a quiet line in the background. Like you have to be paying attention to hear that happens. It's so great.
That is some riz.
Data and Wesley lead Captain Jack into the hallway, and when the doors close, he's like, holy shit, she's hot.
And of course, Data's like, well, sexual attraction is, in this context, is not part of my programming. I am an android. Hello, Data.
I am programmed in multiple techniques. A broad variety of pleasuring.
Oh my.
Data, I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
So Okona makes a joke, and he says, well, have you seen any good-looking computers lately? that was a joke. It's funny. And Data says, of course it is. And that's kind of sets up the secondary theme that's going to run through this entire episode.
Data also does that fake laugh here that he's done before, where Okona's like, come on, man, that was a joke. It was funny. And Data's like, in engineering, Geordi is working on the busted part, and he and Okona are cutting up. They have such a great energy between them. I really liked their banter, their relationship.
Their chemistry.
Yeah, that's the word. Next, we're in a hallway with Data and Captain Jack, and he's asking Data a bunch of questions. Have you ever been cold? Warm? What about drunk? You ever smoke the devil's lettuce? How about shrooms? You want to do a rail with me?
How about Molly X? Any of those? No?
And then he asks about love. And Data's like, the act or the emotion? And Okona says, well, it's the same thing. But Data's mind drifts off to that time that Tasha rode him like a wild stallion.
You jewel, that's exactly what I hoped.
That's interesting that Okona says they're the same thing, because they're not. Because they really aren't.
Well, in our culture, we connect sex and emotion in a way that isn't necessary, but it comes from like a very puritanical whatever. Like, you can have sex for reasons that are not romantic.
Right.
And you can have romance that is not sexual. Right. So love, if we mean it to be, physical and emotional, those are two very different things. And I think culturally we're starting to get to a point where we're understanding that more, and we're moving away from that whole, like, the idea of monogamy, the idea that one person is going to fulfill every one of your needs till death do us part is ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
it's really kind of stupid. Like, it's good for there are people for whom that works, but for a lot of people, having a polycule where this person scratches this emotional need, itch, and this person gives me something else that I need, and I give them different things that they need, and it works for them. I think that's becoming the word, not more mainstream, but more accepted, more understood that that love is not necessarily that binary function.
Yeah, because sex is a physical need, and it does not necessarily.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in love with someone to do it and enjoy it, and But anyway, class is over.
So Okona grabs Data by the arm and tells a joke, and Data doesn't get it, of course, and that sets Data on this character development path of the week. Yeah. Humor. He understands it by the dictionary definition, but nothing more.
A witticism, a gag, a bon mot, a fluctuation of words concluding with a trick ending.
Sure enough, Okona asks about cabin 806, and they're basically right outside the door. What luck. But Data's like, wait, why do you need to know about cabin 806? And Okona's like, you probably wouldn't understand that either. As the door opens and Lieutenant Terry Hatcher is waiting on the bed in a slinky red number, looking like possessed Sigourney Weaver from Ghostbusters.
There is no Dana, only soul.
What a lovely singing voice you must have.
Yeah.
And you know that I paused when the doors closed, and the label is not exactly 806. The label on the door is 080669. Nice.
Is it really?
Yes.
No way. Oh my gosh. Oh, the crew was fucking
it's
with
80669.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing.
And we go to commercial as the squeaky sounds of Lieutenant Terry Hatcher's bed slams repeatedly against the bulkhead.
Hello there.
In engineering, Riker is checking on the status of the repair to that hunk of metal from Okona's ship. Wesley's there, and Wesley's kind of enamored with Okona. He's like, what do you think of him? And Riker says, well, he's interesting. He knows how to handle his ship, and he apparently knows how to handle people too.
Riker's like, but I'm going to keep a close eye on him because he already tried to take my job once.
Yeah. And he might take my woman because he's going to be making the rounds on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so Wesley's just curious about why he works alone. And Riker's sized him up pretty well, I think, maybe. He says he's a man who lives his life by his own rules, and he does what he wants. He does it by choice. And he says, someday, Wesley, you'll make your choice.
Down in 10 Forward, Data has engaged the wisdom of Guinan about this whole humor thing. And Guinan tries to tell a joke, and it just does not land. She's like, because you're a droid, and I'm annoyed. And Data's like, why are you annoyed? I don't get it. And she has to like say it a couple of times, and finally he gets it. And she's, android and humanoid, I get it. And she's like, Data, that's funny. And he's like, oh, is it? Are you sure? Are you sure it's funny? And she's like, trust me, Data, it was funny. You were the problem. It's you.
So Data's like, well, what do I do? And she's like, normally I would tell you to seek a higher power, but let's go to the holodeck instead.
So they go down to the holodeck, and the computer conjures up a 20th century stand-up comic. It's Joe Piscopo.
Woo-hoo!
Probably best known from Saturday Night Live. He's become a bit of a conservative shitbag in his later years.
Did he really? Aw.
He became a conservative AM radio talk show host in 2014, campaigned for Donald Trump in 2016, and considered running for governor of New Jersey because of Trump's success. So fuck that guy.
Aw. Dang it. Like he was part of, I figured, Saturday Night Live. He was
the second cast, I think, right? Like he was one of the cast that took over for the original.
He was with Eddie Murphy during that whole time, and then maybe Steve Martin and all those guys. And like that's such a diverse cast. And like I figure you can't be part of that life in that area without like thinking and being open-minded. So that surprises me. I didn't know that he was a conservative shitbag.
So we're in a classic comedy nightclub. No audience, though. But the comic is up on stage, and he launches into his shtick, which, I'm sorry, none of this is funny. Except the way Data responds to it all.
It was funny, like, that was, like, standard stand-up in a way. Like, those classic... And it wasn't funny, though, but maybe it was back then to everyone.
I don't know.
What I wish they had done was, they've got Whoopi Goldberg on the fucking show. This was what I was gonna say earlier.
She should have just been the one to teach him.
Yes, and we could have gotten to see like Whoopi, doing her thing in Star Trek. I mean, because she's one of the funniest people still to this day.
Data asks to learn about humor. So the comic starts doing Jerry Lewis impressions, which are also not very funny. And then the comic tries to teach Data some classic jokes. You know, guy walks into a bar and it hurt kind of bits.
But then he's doing the arm movements too. You know, you got the cigar in one hand and you like an Italian and you're just like doing this hand gestures because no one can see me on a podcast. But you know what I mean?
And none of it is funny. And I don't think it ever was. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm out of time.
It had its time. Like I said, when stand-up that was how you did stand-up.
Okay, I guess I would liken it to this, and maybe this is why you're right. It had its time. Because I also didn't like I am notably not a Seinfeld fan.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me of the old like, what about airplanes? Right? You know what I mean? That whole like,
that's
hell about the airplane food. You know, like it's just stupid.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
And it never was to me. Anyway.
But the fact that it isn't funny, and then someone comes out and says,
what's the deal with Star Trek?
Yeah.
I know.
So cheesy.
It's dumb. But this is why I never liked SNL, because I didn't like stupid humor. I don't want to see the cheerleader skit. I think it's dumb. You know, I don't know. I want my humor to be thoughtful and not just stupid skits. Anyway, we're getting way off the road here.
I like stupid skits, but not all of them. It has to.
Yeah.
I don't like. It does need to be funny. Anyway, where the fuck were we?
Data starts like ratcheting the playback speed to maximum, which I thought was pretty fun. That was a neat little effect.
Yeah.
Like in the same way that he like plays back the computer screen when he's reading. He just keeps going, speed it up, speed it up, speed it up.
So he learns basically all of these different comics techniques. Mike Gray, John Mason, Tracy Torme. I don't even know who these fucking people are. So he's taking in all of their type of comedy.
And from this, he learns to use a cigar for a prop and do that dumb thing with his arms. So he goes down to 10 forward to try it out on Guinan. And this fails spectacularly. He does a guy walks into the doctor's office joke and it falls flat. And Guinan's like, you ruined the joke. Maybe it's your timing. And Data says, my timing is digital.
Now, see, that's funny.
When he's not trying.
This is interrupted by a call for Data to report to the bridge. And on the bridge, we have another interplanetary vessel. Again, only lasers for weapons. But there's 26 people on board this one, and they're not answering the Skype call. And this gets played for comedy, too. The ship locks on lasers, which apparently requires a yellow alert. And Picard's like, sure, do that, I guess. Slow speed and drop shields, too, in case we decide to surrender. And Riker chuckles at this, but we go to commercial with annoyed Worf growling in the background.
So, if you put funny teeth in your mouth and jump around like an idiot, that is considered funny.
Debin of the planet Aflac is on the phone. Aflac! Because it turns out the D is now harboring a criminal, Okona, and they want him turned over. Then another ship is on sonar. Similar ship, but its markings and language are slightly different. So they get this ship on another Skype, and we meet Secretary Kushel from the Legation of Unity on the planet Straleb, which again sounds like a medication. Do not take Straleb if allergic to Straleb. Consult your doctor if your Straleb lasts longer than 4 hours. May cause anal leakage or whatever.
Please consult your physician.
Guess what? They also want Okona turned over to them, because of course they do. Debin is played by Douglas Rao, whose first IMDb credit is in the 1960s TV series The Lieutenant, which you should know as another Gene Roddenberry series.
Oh, yeah, but I've never seen it. Never.
No, I haven't either.
We should probably watch it.
We should watch it. Yeah.
Where do you find it?
I don't know. He made the rounds on a lot of classics: Get Smart, MASH, Heart to Heart, Hill Street Blues, ER, Melrose Place. And Kushel is played by Albert Stratton. His credits include The New Perry Mason, Wonder Woman, and Baywatch, but you might know him as Eric Kane on 63 episodes of All My Children.
I didn't watch. That was one soap I did not watch.
So now there's a struggle over who's going to get custody of this purported criminal. They try to call Okona to the bridge, but he doesn't answer. So Worf goes looking, and after a fantastic sequence following Worf through the ship as he gets like more and more annoyed, Worf finds Okona balls deep in another woman now.
I'm like, he's only been on there for like a few hours, and like
making the rounds.
These space guys, Jesus Christ.
Worf's like, let's go now. And Okona steps to him and almost baits him into a Star Trek fight.
To come up face to face, stepping up and getting in a Klingon's face, I mean, I gotta respect it. I'm like that takes some balls.
So they leave, and on the bridge, Captain Jack tries to be all chill and cordial with Picard. But Picard's like, listen here, jackass. There's 2 different ships from 2 different planets out there threatening to attack us if we don't hand you over. What the hell?
The first thing I'm thinking, he's fucked up with somebody's daughter or something.
He insists he's not a criminal a couple of times, so Picard gets Devin back on Skype and demands to know what crime they're accusing Okona of. And Devin goes off screen and brings back a young pregnant woman, his daughter. You were right. It's Yanar, who Okona knocked up.
He's dishonored her. Supposedly, he took advantage of her and ran off. And he wants him to return and do the right thing, which is marry his daughter, which he can't stand him. But he wants him to marry his daughter, or otherwise he's going to hunt him down.
I smell an episode of Maury coming on.
Oh, yeah. DNA test.
Yanar is played by Rosalind Ingledew, who was on All My Children, TJ Hooker, St. Elsewhere, Knight Rider, 28 episodes of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And 21 episodes of Sequest 2032.
Oh, Sequest. Okay, that's where she looked
That's where
really
you know
familiar.
her.
I love that show, which again, sadly, I think that kid passed away, but as an adult he passed away, but I love that show.
She doesn't speak in this scene, and the way she's acting is a little odd, like shy maybe or ashamed. It's not really clear quite yet.
You have a man aboard by the name of Okona. I want him.
On what authority?
He is guilty of crimes committed on the planet Affleck.
After the break, we have a short discussion about the archaic nature of this father's honor, righteousness bullshit. And Troy's basically like, this isn't our value system, but it's theirs, and we're going to have to work within that framework somehow. Then Kushal is on the other line, demanding to be heard, so Picard's like, enough of this. Patch all the calls together onto one screen.
Let's do a conference call.
We did pay for Skype Premium, did we not?
Yeah, we can have more than 2 participants.
Of course, this results in Devin and Kushal arguing, and in this argument, we learn that Okona is accused of stealing the Jewel of Thesia from Kushal's planet. Not only that, he claims Okona used his son Benzen to steal this jewel, which Benzen kind of tries to argue back about. I thought that was a little red flag that we don't really know what it's about yet.
Maybe he didn't do, maybe he didn't use me or anything. Or he's trying to tell his father, don't, just stop.
Yeah. And so both of these kids are acting a little odd. And I didn't quite put that together until later. But again, this whole thing escalates until finally Worf puts them all on hold. And this was great. We still see them on the view screen, both men still prattling on for a few beats. And then Picard just hangs up the call. Benzen is played by Kieran Mulroney, who we will see again in Star Trek Enterprise.
Star Trek Enterprise. Which one's that? Which movie is that?
That's the series with Captain Archer.
Oh, that. Well, see,
yeah.
I forget all about it.
I know.
I do. I feel bad because it's probably not as bad as I think it is. Like when we watch it, when we do the rewatch, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is.
We shall see.
In the ready room, Okona's like, you can't possibly be afraid of those two because they can't do anything to you. And Picard's like, no, they wouldn't hurt the Enterprise, but what do I do with you? And Okona apologized. He says, I've gotten you guys into this. If you hadn't picked me up and helped me, we wouldn't be in this situation. But he says, if you hand me over to them, they're going to go to war.
So his solution is, don't hand me over to either of them. Well, the original plan here was, let's fix my ship and let me leave. We could still do that, and trust me, I can handle myself. So down in engineering, Geordi and Wesley are still working on the guidance system, and they have a conversation here where Wesley, again, is kind of trying to understand Okona's nomadic lifestyle. He's like, I couldn't be alone all the time like you. That'd suck balls. I'd miss my friends. And this gets Okona thinking. So Geordi finishes the repair, but now Okona wants to stick around after all. He decides to make a stand and leaves engineering without the guidance system.
I guess leaving's gotten easy for you.
I seem to have a way of using up a place.
I wasn't talking about a place.
Okona arrives on the bridge to let Picard know that he intends to surrender, but to which one? So back on the Skype call, Picard suggests beaming everyone to the D for a face-to-face resolution, but leave your weapons, though. So Worf heads to the transporter room to welcome their guests, while Picard and Troy head to the conference room on deck 14. So not our usual bridge-adjacent meeting space. I thought that was a strange choice. In the transporter room, both fathers and their children beam in, no weapons, and Worf leads them to the conference room, and right away, they both start in on Okona. But Picard quiets them and then dismisses Worf. And Okona makes a great point here. They're all talking about him. Nobody's talking to him.
First, one thinks that he stole a jewel, and the other thinks that he fucked a girl and got her pregnant. He got her up the duff. So Devin is offended that, are you calling my daughter a liar?
Okona says, you all think I stole the jewel and that I knocked up Yanar. Well, given the choice of condemnation as a criminal or marriage to this beautiful woman, well, that's an easy choice.
Oh, yeah.
But this episode of Maury really starts to heat up when Benson speaks up. See, Okona didn't steal the jewel, and he didn't knock up Yanar. Benson was going to give the jewel to Yanar as a wedding gift because, Benson, you are the father.
I did not expect that.
We should, because this is such a fucking soap opera.
Yeah, it is. It is. I should have. Benson was the one who knocked up the girl, stole the jewel, and Okona was just being a friend and was willing to take the blame.
Yeah, and he got blamed so that the Montagues and Capulets wouldn't go to war over the forbidden love of their Romeo and Juliet. This is very, a tale of two.
It's very cheesy.
Yeah. Okona didn't steal the jewel, but he does have it in his pocket because he was supposed to deliver it to Yanar, and his ship broke down. He just didn't get to it yet. But it's too late now, though. She's not marrying either of these chuckle fucks.
And they're talking about her, of course. She's not there. And they're saying, well, you're going to do this. You're going to marry this person. Like, wait a minute. Even in the 90s, 80s, they're still treating women like they have no choice over their.
But she finally gets the last word and says, I'm not marrying either of these dipshits.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to Data and Guinan outside the holodeck, in case you'd forgotten about that storyline. The comic decides maybe what Data needs is an actual audience to play to, not just Guinan. So Data programs a room full of people. Back in the conference room, Okona turns out to be a decent guy. He's been delivering these love notes back and forth between these two, snuck each of them into the other's homeland, and he's trying to get Yanar to remember her love for Benzen and forget their parents' stupid feud. Like, you guys love each other. Like, don't give up on this.
So they, finally expressed their love for each other. And Benzan finally asks her officially to marry him because the whole time they've been talking about it, but he never asked her. So he asks her and she says yes. And they got the jewel and everyone's happy. Now the fathers are arguing about where they're going to live. They're going to live on Strayleb. No, you're going to live on Altec.
Affleck.
But they realize we're going to have a grandson. So hopefully that will keep them from fighting and help them figure out how to settle this.
I thought this turn was a little quick. They went from fuck you, that's my grandson, fuck you, no, that's my grandson, to like, okay, we're gonna raise this grandson. Like, I don't know. I love that Benzen's like, we're gonna live somewhere else, right? Like, we're gonna go to a whole new planet.
Yeah.
Because we obviously can't live with either of these assholes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a quick turn, but anyway. Picard's like, well, this all seems very much like a you people problem, so we'll just beam you back and be on our way.
Get off our ship.
Back in the comedy club, the spotlight comes on, and the comic introduces Data, who's in a nice tux now, but we still has that fucking cigar.
And he does the arm pumping.
Oh, God.
he starts off with the classic shit that I know you hate. Good evening, ladies and germs.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know where that's from. And the audience rolls with laughter. And then after a while, he realizes, like, no matter what he says, they're laughing. But the jokes are terrible.
So I think Ladies and Germs is a Milton Berle thing.
Searching.
Good evening, ladies and germs, Berle would say to the audience. I mean, ladies and gentlemen. I call you ladies and gentlemen, but you know what you really are.
What are they?
Germs.
I don't get it. I'm like Guinan right now. I don't get it. It's not funny.
Because you're a droid and I'm annoyed.
But why? I mean, I guess it's, I'll call you gentlemen, but you're not, you're not gentlemen. You're scum. Like,
Okay.
you're whatever. I don't know. It's not funny. That's the thing.
It's not funny.
No.
Data continues to tell these jokes one right after the other, and he gets laughter every time, but he realizes that no matter what he says, he could just say anything and they're gonna laugh because it's a holodeck audience.
The best part of this bit is when they cut backstage and Guinan asks the comic, "You made a living doing this?" Because none of it is funny.
I know. But her shit was, which is so ironic because everything that she is capable of on stage is miles funnier than anything Joe Piscopo was gonna do.
Yeah. And I guess maybe that's part of the intent here was not to have Data truly learn from a good comic who tells funny shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because at the end of this episode, he doesn't really understand humor any more than he did when he started.
No.
Because they selected the wrong comic to teach him.
I think it's just an understanding of humor itself. It's a hard thing to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And finally, he turns the audience program off, and then he tells the computer to turn the comic program off, and Joe Piscopo disappears.
Guinan joins him on stage, and Data's thinking about reprogramming the audience to be more realistic. But Guinan stops him with another fantastic dose of Guinan wisdom. She's like, laughing and making people laugh, that's just one small part of humanity, Data. Maybe don't focus on it like it's the end-all be-all of all things human. On the bridge for chair chat, Okona is released from the tractor beam, and he exchanges goodbyes. Wesley says, "Bye, Captain Okona. Say goodbye, Data." And Data says, "Goodbye, Data."
Now, see, that's funny.
Classic. Everyone laughs.
There you go. See, he doesn't even know he's funny.
Right. But that's good night, Gracie, right? Say good night, Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing that was funny, he quickly reaches the origin of the joke and proclaims, "It still works!" And continues, "Then there was the one about the girl in the nudist colony that nothing looked good on." And Worf's like, "We're ready to go." Data says, "Take my Worf, please." And Riker's like, you all ready to get the fuck out of here?" And off we go to the next adventure.
Yeah.
But did we learn anything this week?
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
I don't know. Not really. No. I think it just brought up the question. I started thinking about, like, how do you describe what humor is? What's funny? It's such a hard thing to put into words.
Yeah.
Because it's what you think is funny may not be what I think is funny. But then just laughter in general, like, what is that? What bodily function is that? Like, it's a thing that feels good.
There's a chemical release in your brain associated with it.
Yeah.
And what people find funny is individual.
Very much.
Right? I am famously not a fan of like old SNL bits. The Coneheads were not funny to me, and that's fine. You love them, great, but it didn't hit.
Some of
It
them.
didn't. My funny bone wasn't, hit by that.
Right.
And so it's very individual what people find as funny.
Yeah.
People don't find our show funny, and that's fine.
I know.
We are something to someone. Some people find us funny, but not everyone does, and that's what I want to explore.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we learned today?
So you have this completely seemingly, other than the fact that Okona is kind of a funny guy, a fun guy.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. Boom.
Yeah, that's not funny either.
Do you even know what a joke is?
Other than that little connection, there's not a lot of connection between the A and the B story here. You have this Montague Capulet thing of the fathers who have been at odds with each other, willing to go to war at the drop of a hat, and their children being in love with each other, and this Romeo and Juliet sort of story that we don't really do a lot with.
No.
It's just kind of there, and other than the fact that like they have a bastard child that brings them together over their impending grandparenthood. Like, what?
What? I mean, and granted, Okona is like this free spirit, like that kind of ties everything together. Because of his free spirit and funny nature, he gets Data thinking about humor, but then he's the tie to the two warring planets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is not one of my favorite episodes, that's for sure.
I mean, it was funny. It just didn't make any sense together. Yeah.
Well, other than this episode, did anybody die?
Other than Data's comedy routine, he died on stage.
Yeah, he did.
he didn't kill. He died on stage. Yeah.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money?
The money he stole!
You stole his money?
Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
All right. Well, as always, we want to thank all of our patrons who support the show. A special thank you to our founding admirals at patreon.com/humanisttrek whose support really, really keeps this show going. A special thanks to Allie, Peter, Sarah, Bruce, and the Bear and Cured podcast. Thank you so much for supporting this silly podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Listeners of Humanist Trek at Tanagra, the podcast, it's humor in laughter. Dathon on the Patreon Sea.
Shaka, when the reviews fell. Kahlo, his pledge at Patreon.
Humanist Trek, their content wide. Darmok and Jalad at Patreon. Pledge with arms wide.
Mirab, with your support, your laughter, Temba, his arms open. Patreon.com/humanisttrek, where laughter flows. So Koth, in joyous unity.
Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind.
Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
Becca's back now with the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge question for the Outrageous Okona. Okona? I bet we argued about this during the episode.
Okona, because it sounded like they were saying Okona. You like O'Connor, but like in it with Okona. So I was like Okona.
Okay.
Okona.
So if Ohana means family, what does Okana mean?
I have no idea.
Wow.
You rolled your eyes because I cut you off.
You did. Yes, I did. The Outrageous Okona. Remind us again the question.
Joe Piscopo was cast to play the holodeck comic, but who was rumored to be the original person asked to play this role?
I know this. Actually, do know this. It's Jerry Lewis, but I know I got it wrong. I think
we got it way wrong.
Yeah, your guesses were Gilbert Gottfried and Rodney Dangerfield.
The Admiral is definitely incorrect.
Yeah, according to multiple sources, Jerry Lewis was invited to play the holodeck comic, but the role eventually went to Piscopo, who included a Lewis impersonation.
Right.
Yep. Jerry Lewis was like busy doing something else.
Making money.
Yeah, right. Next week, we'll be reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 5, Loud as a Whisper. The future of a warring planet depends on a deaf mediator. You do remember this one. Who suddenly loses his ability to communicate.
Oh, the deaf guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and he has his chorus, the three people that read his mind and speak for him, which is about all I remember from that episode. What's our question for Loud as a Whisper?
Marnie Mossaman?
Sure.
I don't know. There's an I between the S and the M, so Mossaman or Mosiman. Marnie played Harmony of Reva's chorus, is the real-life wife of a Star Trek actor that she shares a son with, who also appeared in Trek. Family affair. I will give you up to 4 points if you can name her husband, the role he played, and their son, and the role that their son played.
What?
Jesus.
This is horseshit.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's trivia.
It's horseshit. Oh, man. Okay, I need a pen. This is too fucking much. Where's my Sharpie pen?
Oh.
So he one of his chorus.
All right, so we have Harmony is played by who?
Marnie Mossaman.
Marnie. Okay.
Oh, and she is the wife of some character.
Right, so we need a husband, their
the role he played.
Yep.
Their son.
Uh-huh.
Or you said son, right?
Yes.
And then their son
role
played?
he played.
Yes.
Fuck me. Okay.
Who's married? Who's got a son? Who's Star Trek is a family affair?
You gonna drop some Jeopardy music in here?
I have no idea. I'm gonna drop crickets in here because I don't have a fucking clue. I don't even know where to start.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Yeah, even if I could name her husband, I certainly couldn't name their child because I don't know.
But it's a point for everything you can name. So
0.
I know.
It's the points that we receive.
The points would be 0. It's Keiko and the my joke answer would be Keiko and the family, but I know that Keiko and the fam, Miles O'Brien, played by Miles O'Brien. I have no idea.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna think of is children. Is this all TNG? Will you give us some fucking hints at all?
No, it's not all TNG.
God damn it.
It's Trek Universe.
Because I was gonna say Alexander.
But I'll give you a little
Worf's
bit.
Kid.
I'll give you a little bit. Husband does appear in TNG.
But the son does not.
Oh my god.
I'm taking a 0 on this quiz. I have no idea. I can't even make a stupid guess.
Yeah, that my stupid guess is Keiko and the fam. Miles O'Brien, played by Miles O'Brien, and then their kid. And
Calamini, you mean?
No, I mean Miles O'Brien, played by Miles O'Brien, because he's a real person to me.
To me, she says. Okay.
Because I really don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't either. All right, you got us this time. What are we doing now? What's the next thing to do? Oh, if you want Becca to get you too, you know how to do that. Head out to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, send us some emails or voicemails. We'll pick out a winner. And next time we'll talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 5, Loud as a Whisper.
Clock to your house.
Make it so, number 1. That was so stupid. Oh, I love it.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Trek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.